The wind shrieked outside the isolated cabin, rattling the thin wooden walls as if nature itself wanted to escape. Inside, a single candle burned low, casting trembling shadows across Eleanor's face. Her bruised wrists rested limply on her lap, eyes locked on a framed photo. Her husband, Charles Whitmore, the man who'd stolen her quiet world. When Charles stumbled in, the storm seemed to follow him, boots heavy with mud, breath thick with whiskey. His words sliced through the silence. "You were supposed to be obedient, not sentimental." Eleanor said nothing, her trembling hands tending to his bleeding knuckles. Yet beneath that calm surface, something long buried stirred. Not fear, but quiet defiance. The flame flickered, revealing the letter opener glinting on the table's edge. Charles' mocking laughter faltered as he caught the strange calm in her gaze. Slowly, she set the object down, turning to the snow outside. The storm no longer frightened her. This time, her trembling wasn't from fear. It was from resolve. Ellie grew up beneath the endless Kansas sky, her hands calloused from farm work, her heart soft with dreams of love. When her father's debts mounted, she was sold off as a mail-order bride, a desperate transaction disguised as salvation. Montana, she thought, would be her new beginning. But Charles Whitmore was no savior. His sprawling ranch was cold and silent, haunted by the ghost of his dead wife. The servants whispered about her mysterious death and the temper that followed. Charles's charm was thin armor for his bitterness. Every kind word from him carried the shadow of control and threat. Ellie's only comfort came from Samuel Reed, the gentle ranch hand whose quiet kindness reminded her of freedom. In secret, she wrote unsent letters to her sister, confessing her growing dread. When the sheriff mentioned missing women, Ellie's blood ran cold. Deep down she knew she might be next. Late one stormy night, Ellie's trembling hands unlocked Charles's study drawer, revealing a hidden chest beneath ledgers and dust. Inside lay relics of vanished women, wedding bands, faded photographs, and gloves stiff with dried blood. Among them, a picture froze her breath, Charles smiling beside his first wife, and another missing bride. When Charles caught her, the mask slipped. His fury was quiet, intimate, terrifying. He dragged her by the hair, slamming her against the wall, whispering venom through gritted teeth. "You don't ask questions in this house." The candlelight flickered over her bruised face as fear curdled into silent, burning hatred. That night, Samuel found her in the stable, his hands gentle where Charles's had been cruel. He urged her to flee before it was too late. But Ellie's voice, cracked yet certain, refused. "If I go, someone else will take my place." In that moment, her fear hardened into purpose. By daylight, Ellie wore her obedience like armor. She smiled, served, and spoke softly, the perfect wife once more. But beneath that mask, she gathered fragments of truth, hidden letters, old receipts, and ledgers smeared with deceit. The ranch, once her prison, had become her silent battlefield. Samuel's pleading eyes haunted her. Each night he begged her to escape north with him, to Canada, to freedom. But Ellie's resolve had outgrown fear. "If I run," she whispered, "he'll hurt someone else." Love bound her to Samuel, but justice chained her to the house of horrors she vowed to end. When the sheriff came during another thunderstorm, tension crackled louder than the rain. Charles lied with practiced ease, yet Ellie's trembling hand passed the sheriff a hidden note. Hours later, Charles realized it was gone. His rage erupted, dragging Ellie to the cellar. But in the darkness, her fear died. Only resolve remained. Ellie's fingernails scraped against the damp cellar wall until they found a rusted nail. Her lifeline. With trembling determination, she picked the lock and crept upstairs. Charles lay slumped in his chair, a rifle across his lap. Instead of vengeance, she chose justice, dousing his desk with kerosene and striking a match. Flames devoured the memories of his crimes, letters, trinkets, and photos, all except one, a necklace belonging to his first wife. Smoke curled around them as Charles woke, coughing, eyes wild. Ellie stood firm, voice steady as steel. "You can bury bodies, Charles, but not truth," he lunged. Their struggle cracked the silence, and then the door burst open. Samuel appeared, but not as the ranch hand she knew. The badge gleamed in the firelight. "Federal agent," he said, breathless. Together, they overpowered Charles. As dawn bled through smoke, Ellie finally exhaled, free at last. Charles was led away in iron cuffs, shouting curses that vanished into the morning wind. Ellie stood in the doorway, wrapped in a blanket, her face streaked with soot and tears. When she gave her statement to the sheriff, her voice quivered, yet every word carried the weight of the silenced women before her. Samuel stayed beside her, his eyes gentle but questioning. He offered her a new beginning, a home far from the memories that haunted these plains. Ellie smiled faintly and shook her head. "Not yet," she said softly. "Before love, I must remember who I am without fear." Months later, Ellie returned to Kansas. Her sister ran to her, grown and strong, proof that innocence could survive cruelty. With her savings, Ellie opened a small school for women, teaching them to read, to earn, to choose. One quiet evening, she burned her wedding photo, not in hatred, but peace. 1 year later, the wind carries soft snowflakes across the wooden boards of the schoolhouse. Ellie stands inside, her journal open and voice steady. "I once believed obedience was safety, but silence only fed monsters." Her words echo through the quiet, not with fear but with purpose, a promise to herself and to every woman who will follow. A carriage halts outside. The wheels crunch in fresh snow as Samuel steps down and approaches the door. He leaves behind a letter of thanks and a promise, "For all the women you saved." Ellie accepts it with a gentle nod, her faint smile reflecting a strength born of survival, healing, and new beginnings. She closes the door behind him and finds the same candle that once flickered in fear. This time the flame burns brighter, unwavering, confident. Snow falls outside, silent but persistent. As the candlelight dances on the walls, Ellie watches it glow, not for escape, but for enduring truth. The end.